What happened in the previous chapter was the news about Mash becoming a divine visionary candidate has spread across the world. This caused a rally of people who didn't accept Easton's decision to allow a lack magic to participate in the divine visionary exam. Lemon and Dot tried to protect Mash, but the people just got mad at them for supporting a non-magic user. At first, Lance was stopping Mash from showing himself to the people because the situation would only get worse. But before long, Mash couldn't bear the ridicule of his friends, so he confronted the people himself. A man tried to capture Mash using his prison wall, but our protagonist simply returned the confinement to him. Wahlberg arrived and he himself pleaded with the people to give their patience until the final exam is over. In another place, Revel and Agito Tyrone faced Domina because someone reported to them that there was a person randomly attacking people in that place. Domina managed to escape from the two divine visionaries, which irritated Revel and made him wonder who Domina was. While escaping, Domina's backstory was explained. 15 years ago, he was born, and he was born the same year as Mash, but Mash was already 5 months old at that time. Because of Mash being a non-magic user as a baby Domina wondered why they were receiving the same treatment. He got mad and tried to kill his sibling, but Mash easily dodged it. That's where his twisted ambitions started, and the only thing that would satisfy him would be the day when he could kill Mash. After that, in the end, the final exam began, where the two teams arrived at Grief Manor. What's up, Onii-Chan? Welcome back to our manga recap series about Mashle, Magic and Muscles, a story that mixes elements of Harry Potter and One Punch Man. So, let's start the video. In the continuation of the thrilling story of Mash in a world full of magic, we return to their arrival with his friends at Grief Manor for the final test. Levis commented, and it seems like he already knew that our friends have nothing to match them. He trash-talked Mash and his friends, saying that the fight was too one-sided and he doesn't want to be a bully, so he might give them a head start. Mash whispered to Dot, pointing out that Levis obviously has no friends. In a room, they were watched by Finn and Lemon, along with other students, through a mirror. The host explained that the rules were simple. They would find the 5-star keys scattered in the manor and use them to unlock the treasure chest. Whoever opens it and obtains the Wand of Beginnings will be proclaimed the Divine Visionary for that year. Mash turned into a sort of Sherlock Holmes and said that he understood what had happened. He stated that they need the keys to open the box. Because of that, Dot told him that the host had just explained that. Suddenly, the host exclaimed that nevertheless, that mansion was cursed, so they should be careful while searching inside. Our friends started running with Dot carrying Mash. Lance stated that if the treasure is inside that manor, they would likely find it in the innermost section of the place. Suddenly, the inside of the mansion moved and it seemed like a maze. The ground under Dot moved, causing both him and Mash to stumble. When Mash lifted his head, he saw a star. He tried to grab it, but it quickly moved away from them. He chased it with Dot and it turned into a room. Upon entering, they were greeted by a very bright place. Dot wondered why it was so bright in there. Suddenly, a voice welcomed them, startling Dot. A face on the wall appeared and introduced itself as Room Aster, claiming to be the master of that room. Dot was surprised because it was a talking wall. Room Aster announced that it was time to face his trial and a creature emerged from his mouth. The creature confronted Dot and Mash. Mash was puzzled about what it was, while Dot was screaming. Finn explained that it was a shadow eater, and it also wondered why such a dangerous creature was there. Rain was also watching and commented that the trial Mash and his friends were experiencing was more than what they had been given the previous year. He was sure that Levis Rose Quartz, the son of the chief of the bureau, had something to do with it. The Walkie students who had easily defeated their trial were shown. In Levis' thoughts, he explained that he had instructed the bureau to prepare harder attacks for Mash's side. He didn't want to use his father's position, but he would do everything to win. Dot and Mash were shown facing the Shadow Eater, while Levis said that they would lose before they even reached him. Finn was worried and thought that the creature was not something to be taken lightly. While this was happening, Room Aster was just laughing and explained that he was a prisoner. He said he was in such a situation because it was part of his punishment. but he said he could finally achieve his freedom if he defeated Mash and his friends. He told them to let him demonstrate how terrifying a Shadow Eater is. He produced a rabbit and hoped they wouldn't wet themselves in fear. The Shadow Eater entered the shadow of the rabbits, and before long, it turned into a skeleton. Dot noticed that the Shadow Eater was sucking its shadow. In the end, the rabbit eventually died because of it. It was explained that if the Shadow Eater consumes their shadow, they are finished. It will steal their souls. It's a creature against which you have no defense. And in that bright room, there was no way for our heroes to hide their shadows, so they had no way to win. Brewmaster quickly ordered the Shadow Eater to attack Mash. Mash found a way and suddenly laid flat on the floor. Brewmaster was surprised and realized that Mash did it to hide his shadow. When it thought our hero wouldn't be able to move in that position, it was mistaken. Mash crawled on the floor with extraordinary speed, even causing an after image. Brewmaster couldn't believe it, but it said that it was useless because the monster was moving, and in Mash's position, he wouldn't be able to touch it. Mash suddenly went under the monster and before long, twisted his head as if he came out of a horror movie. He sucked the monster in with his extraordinary lung power, leaving Brewmaster in disbelief. When Mash brought the Shadow Eater close to him, he quickly grabbed its costume and our hero became a contortionist. Brewmaster was completely flustered, wondering what Mash was planning to do. Mash grabbed the Shadow Eater's hand and using his legs, he put it in a headlock, leaving Finn completely puzzled while watching. In the end, our hero put the Shadow Eater in a triangle choke. It was somewhat okay when Mash laid flat on the floor to cover his shadow, but his grip on the Shadow Eater in that position was another matter. While Mash was strangling the monster, Brewmaster thought that this was the end. He was amazed that Mash was executing it perfectly. Even Finn had his mouth agape at the sight, waiting for the Shadow Eater to pass out. The other students watching also couldn't believe what was happening. Finn took a breath and said to give him just a moment and he will calmly comprehend what happened. But he then screamed in his mind, wondering what the use of a triangle choke was in a world of magic. Brewmaster just smiled there, but before long, he was taken aback because of these events. The Shadow Eater disappeared after Mash defeated it, and it dropped a star key. Dot questioned and said it seems like they would have to solve each trial in each room to get all the stars. Mash agreed, and before long, the rest of their group arrived. While Mash was looking at the key, he had an idea. In the next scene, we shift to Wakis, where they had already obtained their third star. Galuf said that of course it was going to be easy for them, so he questioned whether they really needed to cheat Mash. Lavis explained that he never underestimates his opponents, no matter how weak they are. Galuf laughed and said it seemed like Lavis really wanted to win. Because of Galuf's laughter, Lavis told him that he was despicable. In Lavis' mind, he said that it was true. He manipulated that match. It wasn't about skill anymore, but they still wouldn't be a challenge even if he hadn't done it. Then he heard a noise from their side, which made him curious. The noise gradually got closer and the sound of destruction was heard. A creature that seemed like a centipede was shown running quickly. They realized that it was heading towards them and said it was impossible because Lavis made sure to place powerful challenges for Mash. Our group used their magic to create an unstoppable bulldoze team. Lavis explained that the manor was like a maze, so they needed to overcome countless walls. It was shown that using Mash's head as a battering ram, they rushed to bring down all the walls in their path. Lavis couldn't believe what was happening. As he entered the room, Mash called Lavis and said he realized it would be easier for them to get the stars if he beat him up first. Mash threw back Lavis' words back at him and said he would try to restrain himself against him. Lavis then said that it seems they are not so weak after all. The students from Easton and the students from Wakis faced each other again. Dot was wondering what kind of room that was. One of the Wakis students explained that the room is connected to all other rooms there. It's like a train station for the mansion. Lance added that it's also like a secret stage select screen where they could save time. That means they are competing to gain control of that room. The man agreed with Lance and said that while they were looking for stars, Domina was already searching for the treasure, but it seems like they could not avoid a battle now. He said it's a shame for all of them because now they have to fight against him. He released an extraordinary magical aura that surprised Dot. The man added that because there are 5 of them there, the odds are against Mash. Because of that, Mash and Dot were stunned. Dot questioned if the man had just made a pun. He said he didn't, right? Because they were serious and it wasn't the time for jokes. He made another joke, saying that he waited for the sun to set, but then it dawned on him. Because of that, the friends felt embarrassed and they were feeling secondhand embarrassment for the man. In Dot's mind, he didn't understand what was happening and everything the man was saying was useless. He questioned who in their right mind would start telling that kind of joke for no reason. Dot tried to calm himself down and said the first 2 were just coincidences, but then the man started speaking again, making Dot wish he wouldn't continue. However, the man went on and said, "I'll spring for onions." Because of that, the 2 of them were completely overwhelmed with embarrassment and they started shaking. Dot pleaded that someone should stop the man, while Mash was paralyzed with embarrassment. Abel promptly sent his puppet warrior to attack the man, and Dot remembered that the puppet had given Mash a hard time before. The man made another joke and immediately used his ice field. The puppet froze there as well as the feet of our allies. Dot noted that this corny boy seemed to have some fighting power after all. When Dot realized that they needed to break the ice, he noticed that there was insects inside. The man with the tube in his mouth explained that these were landmines. He showed that if they disturbed them, the insects would explode. The man said that there was nothing they could do now. Because of that, Dot started to panic even more. He said that wasn't their only problem and launched another attack with his Insectus biteworm. The man explained that those insects were the most feared carnivorous insects capable of eating a large mammal in just 1 second. Dot became even more nervous and said he had let himself become vulnerable to the corny boy's comments. He added that he couldn't do anything because he was sure his X-Plomb magic would trigger the enemy's trap. While he was thinking about what he could do, Mash suddenly bent down. Mash brought out his wand, which confused Dot. Mash shaped his wand again, making Dot feel uneasy about what was happening. Their enemy was also puzzled about what he was doing with that iron wand. In the end, it was shown that Mash had formed his wand into a Q-stick. Mash used his Brachioradialis magic, Barbarian Shot, and with his Q-stick, he struck one of the giant insects. Upon impact, it caused a bouncing effect, ricocheting those insects at an extraordinary speed. As the insects ricocheted, the man with the tube in his cheeks was gradually stunned as if he were dumbfounded. The large insects hit the members of Wakis, throwing them to various points in the room. That's when they realized that Mash had planned it all along from the moment he struck the insects. They got angry at Mash and said to him they were just billiard balls. Mash blew his Q-stick and said that he ran the table, while Dot asked if his hair was okay because it seemed to be smoking. Abel and Abyss followed the struck Wakis members and said to leave them to it. They promised to regroup afterward. Lavis then shouted, trying to stop them. However, he noticed that he was about to be hit by another insect, forcing him to dodge and realized that Mash had put backspin on that one. Mash warned him and said he wouldn't let him escape. Lavis then said, really? He was introduced to the world in a rich and bountiful way when he was born, and now does he have to worry about a person without magic? Because of that, he said it seems like it's up to him to teach Mash that reality is hard when you're born into the wrong kind of society. In the end, Mash said if that's the case, then he needs to teach Lavis that everyone is equal before the law of muscles. And that's where this video ends. What do you think? Does this new enemy stand a chance against our leading boy? What happened to Abel and Abyss? Write your comments down below. If you want more anime and manga recaps, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on new videos.